so now we're going to do a mock seam. A mock seam is just two seams that are overlapped and stitched together. This works really, really well if you have got a very heavy leather, a dense leather that's quite thick, that you don't want to fold back onto itself or that can't fold back onto itself. It is quite often the seam that you see on handbags where you can see the raw edge. Not so effective on a lightweight leather because a lightweight leather can usually fold back to a nice crispy seam anyway. So if you were going to use a lightweight leather, you probably would use your open and close method, not so much your mock method, okay? So the first thing you need to think about it in your pattern making process with a mock seam, because the idea of a mock seam is that that's your seam line there. So your under layer has 1 centimetre seam allowance, but your top layer has no seam allowance on it whatsoever. Okay, so you need to think about that from the beginning process, or cut it off if you were accidentally put it on seam allowance on everything. You'd trim it off before you start sewing it. Okay, if this is going to be my under layer, I need to, for a start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mark in that 1 centimetre seam allowance. Okay, so I know that when I lay the two together, and I mark it on my right side, when I lay the two together, I'm going to overlap them and lay them together, and they're going to match up perfectly with that seam. This is my top, so that doesn't have seam allowance on it, my under does. I'm going to grab some double-sided tape, and I'm going to cut some small pieces of double-sided tape to hold it in place. Because this is such a small seam, I only need 2 tiny little bits. I'm going to put them in the seam allowance, just to hold it in place on that under seam. Then take off the top layer so that it tapes there and exposed. And then I'm going to overlay him on top, matching up that seam exactly. That overlap is only 1 centimetre. Press him down. Okay, because he's only overlaying and he's not folding back on himself, I don't need to rub him at all. I can just now go to the machine and give him, top stitch him, so he's top stitched together.